had always considered myself an independent person, so when my parents left for a weekend getaway and left me home alone, I was both excited and a little bit nervous. I had been alone for a few hours before, but never for an entire weekend. The house was old, creaky, and had an air of mystery about it, but I never thought much of it. I figured, how bad could a weekend alone be? The first night was relatively uneventful. I ordered some takeout, watched a few movies, and before I knew it, I was headed to bed. My room was on the second floor, and I had a direct line of sight to the hallway from my bed. The light in the hallway was always on when I went to sleep, because the darkness outside my window used to freak me out as a child. My parents always made sure to leave it on for me whenever I stayed home alone. Around 2:30 a.m., I woke up to the sound of a door creaking open. I sat up in bed trying to make sense of the noise. I knew it wasn't my bedroom door. It was far too faint. It came from the hallway. At first, I thought it might be the wind pushing against the door, but the sound was too deliberate, too controlled. Someone was opening a door, but there was no one else in the house. I lay there in the darkness, listening. The air felt thick, like something was off. Then I heard it, a soft, slow footstep on the hardwood floor, followed by another, and another. I wanted to believe it was just my imagination or some weird sound from the house settling. But there was something about it that felt real, and if it was real, it meant there was someone walking around my house. I stayed absolutely still. The footsteps stopped just outside my bedroom door. I held my breath. For a moment, everything was completely silent. No sound, just the unsettling quiet of the house. Then I heard it again, a faint tapping on my bedroom door. Not loud enough to be a knock, but definitely something trying to get my attention. I didn't know what to do. My instincts screamed at me to hide, to make sure the door was locked, but my body wouldn't move. I had never felt so paralyzed by fear in my life. And then, without warning, the door to my bedroom opened. I could barely see through the crack of the door, but there was something standing there. It didn't make a sound. It just stood there, staring into the room. At that moment, I could hear nothing but the sound of my own frantic breathing. Then, without warning, it took a step forward. I gasped, instinctively pulling the covers over my head, trying to shield myself from whatever was in my room. I heard the figure's slow footsteps approach my bed, each step deliberate, heavy, and unyielding. I felt the weight of the air around me shift as it drew closer. I didn't dare move. I was certain if I did, it would notice. But then, something strange happened. I felt it stop, right next to my bed. My breath was caught in my throat. I thought it would explode. I could feel its presence right next to me, like it was leaning over me, watching me as I lay frozen under the covers. I could almost hear its shallow breaths, or maybe it was my own breath in my ears, too terrified to distinguish between the two. After some seconds, the figure finally moved away. Its footsteps receded slowly, fading into the distance. It didn't run, didn't make a sound, just vanished. The door to my bedroom, which had been left wide open, creaked closed on its own, the faintest echo of it latching shut. I waited in the silence, not sure if I should open my eyes, if I should check to make sure it was really gone, but I couldn't help myself. I slowly pulled the covers down from my face, my eyes darting to the door. The hallway light was still on, and the house seemed still, too still. I didn't sleep that night. The whole time I stayed wide awake, clutching my phone, too terrified to move or even blink. By the time the sun came up, I thought it was all just a bad dream, but I was wrong. The next morning, I went downstairs to make myself some coffee, trying to erase off the previous night's events. But when I got to the kitchen, I saw something there on the floor near the doorway was a faint handprint. Not just any handprint. It was as if someone had pressed their hand against the wall, but the fingers didn't make contact with the surface. Instead, there was a faint, cold outline of a hand, like something had been there, but it wasn't truly there at all. I tried to explain it away, tried to reason with myself that maybe it was something else, an old mark on the wall, a trick of the light, but deep down I knew what I had experienced the night before was real. Something was in my house, something that didn't belong. When my parents came home the next day, I told them everything. They laughed it off, of course, brushing it off as just a bad dream, maybe caused by stress or exhaustion. But I knew better. I knew what I felt.
Love what you see? Then subscribe us and hit the bell icon to keep up to date, and make sure you like the video. If you have a real horror story that you want to share, please email it to us. Our email is as follows: official@gmail.com.